We are back.
We are back, Ed.
Round 2, residential sales chat.
do it.
April, capturing March results.
There you go. I
Just
like the way
outstanding.
you narrate that. April, catching March result. Very nice.
Just trying to keep it in my head right.
Yeah. Just
This mind kind of wanders as you're quite aware. As you're quite aware.
As we get older.
Speaking of wandering, like nobody's putting anything in the chat.
Yeah, my favorite one is Prince.
So we asked in the
I like
chat if you would post if you were stranded on a deserted island. Well, you can only choose one artist, only
Yeah.
one artist.
Yep.
Who
Who'd
would
that
you
be?
put in there?
I-
Who would you have with you?
Def Leppard. Def Leppard.
And Stormy chimes in with Def Leppard. Come on, let's see what you got there.
You
Come
got
on,
Pearl-
chat it up.
I,
Let's go.
I wouldn't have taken you for a Pearl Jam.
Really? The album 10 is my favorite album by far.
Really?
I've got it everywhere. I think I've ruined a couple of CDs listening to it. That's how old
By the
I
way,
am.
I didn't know if I liked Tim Tarantello till now. He knows who Yngwie Malmsteen is. I can't believe he knows who that is. My
Tim?
man knows who Yngwie Malmsteen is. The dude's a monster, man.
Mac Miller. That's a
Mac Miller, really? Slipknot. Got Zach Bryan by Michelle, Queen of the Stone Age.
Zeppelin popped up a lot last time. Slipknot. Ooh, there we go.
Zach said Joe Rogan. Really? You're gonna go with that one, huh?
Listen to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, you know.
That's
I
all
mean,
you had to do. He's pretty entertaining.
You know, apparently, Zach's a little different.
Adam Humphries, we're going to have to get you to do little BJs for us at the next
Queen or
President's
Black
Club.
Crows? Greg, make a decision, man. Make a decision, brother. Pink Floyd, I like that.
Jeff Steele going
Eric
old
Clapton.
slow hand, yeah.
Kylie Jenner, Rafael Zavalza.
Gary Hubbard, like the hardest rockinest dude I know.
Wait.
Put Neil Diamond in there. What do you got?
Kylie Jenner? That's what he said.
What? Who did?
That's what he said. Rafael. Queen, comedy is art.
Chris Ledoux. Oh, there you go.
Okay, Tim says John Tesh. Okay, the man has to leave the room now.
Drop kick.
Just
Gary Hubbard
just
goes
leave.
share.
Yeah. All right, who's out there? I'm going to go look who's out there.
Okay, go ahead.
Marcelo Escalera. Is that close? Marcelo, just give me a thumbs up, man. He goes, yeah, sure, Victor.
Tim
And
Burkhart's got some company with him. I don't know who that is in the background, but
All right,
that's
man.
awesome.
We
Doing
got
it at
Jerry,
the branch.
Jerry Geraldo Gutierrez.
Got Rick
Is it
Waters.
like Jerry, you went with Jerry on that one, huh? All right, that's cool, man.
John Kwan, obviously.
M. Kelly drinking the red cup. All right.
Nice.
Sip that,
Who else
baby.
we got out
Sip
there?
that thing.
There's Gordon Mellering. He's always around. Gary Hubbard's out there.
What is Michelle looking at that she is so focused on that thing? She's like,
She's pretty focused.
She's just focused, like something's going on.
Jeff Steele's sitting in Michigan looking like he's at the beach. Man, is he in for a surprise? That's crazy.
Rick Waters looks like a professor.
Amen. And
you say he's
shout
a
out to
professor?
Keith
Yeah,
Day
he's got the thing going
and
on.
Zach Mormon. They were on this thing. Maybe they got bad info from their boss, but they were on this thing like at 10:30 Eastern. They were the first guys in. So if there's a prize, Keith and Zach for being in first, y'all win it. But there isn't one. So
By the way, G. Hubbard said share.
he's
Share.
He's just playing because he is the hardest rocker I know.
Yeah, that's got to be, man. That's got to.
He's probably seen more concerts than anybody.
Chris
else we got
Stapleton.
out there?
I like Chris Stapleton. I would go there. I'd go there.
That dude can sing. How about when
Yeah.
he sang the national anthem at the Super Bowl? Or not?
Yeah.
Super Bowl? Yeah.
The best national anthem. Who would you say?
Whitney.
Yeah, I like Whitney.
Whitney's kind of a given.
I like the Whitney one. That was a good one. Yeah, man.
All right. Let's
do
get
this
going.
thing.
Let's
do
get
this
going.
thing. Enough messing around.
So hey, just a couple things. We realize that we're in the last week of the month. We got to get a little push on. We need a little help on the termite side of things. But what we wanted to share with you, they're gonna make the earnings announcement, to Wall Street in the next couple of days. So there are some numbers we can share. We can't share a whole bunch of them with you, but we can wrap up the first quarter sales numbers because those are fairly public knowledge. So Orkin as a company, residential pest control sales are on plan for the first quarter. About 8.7% increase over last year,
Okay.
which is just super strong. We had a little bit of a
Nice.
glitch last year where we slipped a little bit.
Okay.
But we're back at it, and this month looks like it's projecting to be pretty good too as far as April.
Very cool.
Commercial sales, which these folks sell a little bit of commercial sales. There's a handful of them that are on there. Commercial sales are on plan as well.
Nice.
And they're at 10.7% increase year over year. Again,
Double digit.
just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. What these folks focus most of their sales on are on termite sales.
Right.
The termite sales, I guess, catalog that we have these days.
Right.
And our total termite sales for the quarter, Victor, are up 27% over last year.
Nice. Over last year. Okay.
Over last year, 27% increase to last year, which, again, we've shared it before. That's about 4 or 5 consecutive years that the
Yeah.
termite sales have grown that way.
But
And
what do you attribute that to, Ed? What do you think?
two things. I think first, number one is we have more salespeople now.
Right.
we have about 70 more home sales inspectors than we did this time last year.
Okay.
Now, granted, some of them are new and they're just figuring their own way.
Right.
But those boots on the street always help.
Sure.
And I think the other thing that's really happened, particularly as I break down the sales a little bit, the ancillary sales that we have, it kind of starts like in one region or one branch even, and it kind of just starts to move. You know, they start looking around and, you know, even if you're in a region, you're looking around, you're looking at, man, what's that guy doing over there in that branch?
Yeah.
And then, you know, what's that gal doing in that branch? Why are they driving their sales? It kind of becomes, I kind of call it contagious, right? It kind of just starts to spread.
Yeah, contagion.
Slowly, right? But we're there, and I think that's continuing to build. There's a whole lot of areas in the country where we can really ramp up our ancillary sales. So again, while we've run 20+% increases for 4 or 5 years, I don't have any hesitation in saying that will continue.
Nice.
For that reason, more boots on the street, and that kind of
ancillary contagion.
That contagion.
Yeah, ancillary contagion.
And for example, like when you break down the termite sales, that 27% number, you know, our traditional termite is the drill it and fill it, right? The perimeter plus where we pump the liquid in, or the full liquids that we do in homes.
Right.
That's up about 16.5%.
Okay.
When you compare that, the total package, the total bucket of termite sales is up 27. That's our slowest growing, and that's still growing at 16.5. The termite bait, that's the one where we're leading the pack. We have 44% more dollars in termite bait sold this year than we did last year.
That's a big number.
And that's the stuff that's sticky, right? The cool thing about driving your termite bait sales for the operators and the salespeople is it's really sticky. When people are cutting their grass and they're messing around in their gardens this time of year, they see those little green stations. They're more apt to keep that service and keep paying that renewal, which keeps those revenues coming in that don't cost us a whole lot to generate. So that's a cool thing when we sell more bait.
It's that visual proof, right? That social proof, that visual.
They just see it.
They see it.
You know, I have them around my house. You know, I was messing around in the yard, you know, last week, and I'm like, oh man. So I'm checking them, right? I'm not supposed to touch them, but I'm checking them, right? But I mean, just that visual proof that you see there that kind of reinforces what you bought.
I have a dumb question.
Yes.
Is there a reason that they're green?
No, because Dow or Corteva wanted them green.
Right.
You know,
there's a special reason, like not Orkin red.
No, they're not allowed to be Orkin red because Dow is pretty proprietary about their product. They're green everywhere. They're green for every company.
Right. I was wondering if there's a reason. There's no reason.
I think maybe it blends into the grass, but they're not in the grass. Most of them are in the mulch beds and they're around the house. But
Gotcha.
That's a great question, and I don't know that answer. Maybe somebody can post in the chat if they know that answer. The ancillary sales that I talked about, up 30%. So all these, you know, the insulation that we're putting in attics, the crawl space work that we're doing, the exclusion work, you know, the Orkin Shield work that just continues to grow and grow and grow, and kind of.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah,
that's
nuts.
really impressive.
It's nuts. And what happens is it affords these folks more places to sell. And when your pest control sales are up 8%, 9% year over year, all that does is just bring new places to go for our home sales inspectors out there to go sell more business.
Love it.
So just crazy numbers. The other piece, you know, Pat's driving that message home. I just saw him in the hallway. He's actually talking to the board of directors today as they come in to talk about the dividend that they're going to spend and all that kind of thing. But that message being built for growth, we're growing. Okay. We're growing. We got a lot more salespeople. We got a lot more technicians. But at the same time, we have room for a lot more of both. We have room for more salespeople across the country, and we certainly have more room for more technicians.
Are we going to have an update on the topic of choice, which is like retention down the road? Maybe have a little update on that.
We will. Okay. Absolutely. Pat and I are going to go live to this group to the sales managers and the branch managers on the 4th or 5th of May.
Okay.
Kind of recapping the performance results across the country by branches and by regions.
And I'll probably talk about that as well.
We certainly that was job one, is to fix that. So on top of making the sales, we're converting it to profit. So again, record profit months for the company for Orkin, January, February, and March. So I mean, some of the stuff, some of the operators have seen some of the results for March, like stuff I've never seen before. I mean, just like crazy good profit, which bodes well and should make for a very good earnings call tomorrow when they talk to Wall Street and share the results.
That's cool. By the way, Kenneth Burkett said,
what'd he say?
It's almost like he says, dude, because it's a green product. Because it's green.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It is green.
Yeah. Well,
it is green. I mean, it's officially green.
I mean, they're green, but it's also green with the environment.
But
I think that's what he's going.
I love the tie-in.
He's kind of got attitude right here. Like Kenneth just seems like he's just got attitude. Yeah, because it's.
I think he's just trying to be nice. I think you're reading too much into it.
Cool.
Dog only? What does that mean? DLB?
Dog
Oh,
only?
Gotcha.
I have no idea.
All right, cool.
Anyway.
We're keeping up with it.
Let's do it.
So in addition to all these great company-wide and region performances, we had some phenomenal individual performers. 28, Victor, 28 of our salespeople out there got paid on over $100,000
I wonder who they are, Ed.
in the month of March. And we do know who they are because here comes a video with folks that had birthdays in April.
Right.
So cut to the video, Stormy, and let's share the top 28. That man, he's back.
He's back.
Hassan Korpaz, number
big
one
HC.
salesperson last year. After 3 months, missing out on number one, but still being on the 100K club.
Yep.
He reclaims his
That's
title.
a nice. I'm just wondering, where's his brother? That's all I'm saying. Where is the other Corpez? I'm just saying. I think Hassan's killing it. The brother took a back seat,
I
just
told
chilling.
you in the last broadcast, I think he just missed it. He was like 90,000.
I'm just saying.
For some of the new folks that are on the
Talk to
call,
your brother, man. Just talk to your brother.
do the math on $100,000 in started business. Do the math at 14%. Every one of those folks on that list, Victor, with their salary we pay them, with the re-inspections they've done last month, I'm sure.
That's a minimum of 14, 15 grand.
Minimum.
I'm just doing 14 times 155. Hassan, I was looking at his number. Jason Sawyer's up there again.
He's always there.
Let me see. Man, by the way, I mean, just some of the Tennessee, Alabama region. What do you got to say about them? They're killing it in here.
Six
Tennessee.
paid on perfect miles in Tennessee, Alabama.
I wonder why.
I don't know.
They say they're slower in the South. I don't think so.
Don't go
I
there.
I don't think so. I think they're killing it. And I know you don't want me to bring this up, Ed.
Don't.
It's I don't see a lot of West Coast representation
They're
on
there.
that list.
They're there.
There's only like 2 or 3.
Central Cal, Orange County, Northern Cal. They're all there. Southern Cal. They're all there. They're gonna make you mad. They're gonna get mad at you.
Saying,
they're gonna get mad at you.
West Coast is not in the house.
Yes, they are. They're here. They're here. Their time's coming.
All right.
So here's the deal. We had 6 from Tennessee, Alabama. We had 4 from North Carolina. The cool thing, out of the 28 winners, 16 different regions. Again, that same story, right? It's never the man or the woman. It's always it's never the land. It's always the man or the woman.
Yep.
You can do this anywhere. You can do this anywhere in the country. You can get paid on $100,000, and it's just evidence. Every time we post this, I just scratch
all over
my
the
head.
place. Yeah. By the way, Adam Humphrey disagrees with me. He says West Coast is in the house.
There you go. West Coast is in the house.
By the way, shout out to Adrian Davis. Georgia boy kicks in.
We got to support the home team, huh?
Yeah, support the home team.
Support
man.
he's
Great
he's
list,
like
though.
in Augusta. Like he might sell over in South Carolina, though. I don't know. We'll have to ask him that later.
Good list, though, man. That's
But
a lot of numbers.
lots of repeat offenders, right? Which is always good. But the cool thing about this list with 28 of them on there, there's like 4 or 5 of them that are new, like first timers, at
Really?
least as far as my
Congratulations
recollection
to
goes.
those
So,
guys. Yeah.
So just
hey, by the way, so what is the most you've gotten on this list?
I think when we started counting these on this broadcast, you know,
Right.
we've been doing these for about a year and a half now. The most we ever had was 34.
Right.
Was 34.
Nice.
Without
Well,
a
this
doubt.
is a good number. This is a good number.
Oh, it's
right
strong.
here.
It's strong. It's
number.
strong for March. By just being familiar with the group needs and keeping up with some of the numbers, you know, inside the system, we're going to have 40 plus.
Yeah.
Just based on April alone, with the week to go. I mean, there's some numbers being thrown up that are crazy.
And I
good.
would like to bet you $1.
Bet me $1.
I'd like to bet you $1 that in that 40 we're going to get next month.
Yeah.
That the East Coast will have a bigger number.
I'm not even touching that. I'm not even touching that. You're gonna get me in trouble.
All right, let's get into this.
So again, short month or short week. We got to get busy.
Yeah.
We're just gonna cover a couple of topics that I think make a ton of sense this time of year.
Yep.
As I've been traveling around and talking to RSMs and talking to a whole bunch of salespeople, this stuff keeps coming up. This stuff that doesn't go away. You know, these issues that
Yep.
we get when we sell a bunch of business this time of year, and some of the pressures that are involved in these kind of things. So
Right.
let's go to that first slide, and I want to talk about. The customer says yes, right? So the customer says yes. You've done your thing. You brought it perfect. You've uncovered things. You've showed them something that's different, and they said yes.
Deal is done.
The deal's done.
Right.
The deal is not done.
The
Think about it.
we think the deal's done.
I want you to look at these
Yep.
sales that you make, and we use this terminology with the call center sales as well, as being very fragile, right? They said yes, they love what you did. You were there for a couple hours, you served up something that they liked, that they said yes to,
Yeah.
but it's not done.
Yeah.
There's no money paid until that work is completed, right?
I like the way you use the word fragile here. I think
Yeah.
it makes sense because the deal is done, but it ain't done. It ain't cooked. The egg ain't cooked yet. It's still fragile.
Yeah, because you got a couple things going on, right? Typically, if it's an inbound lead
Right.
and they got a problem, you know, they had rats in their attic and you're doing an attic remediation, or they got swarming termites, the customer's very emotional, right?
Right.
Very emotional. So I think it's important that first and foremost that we realize how fragile that is in our mindset, so that we don't step too far or too fast, and then move into these next couple slides. So just remember. Reminder to everybody, this baby ain't cooked. You know, the eggs aren't done
Yeah.
yet, right? You got to keep booking them. You got to do something to control what's going to happen now to make that yes stickier, right?
You said something in the first broadcast that I thought was quite profound because it's the fragile sale creates a fragile salesperson or something like that. What was that?
Yeah, so we're going to
Hit
get into
that.
it on one of the next
Yep.
slides, but what happens this time of year is you get these fragile sales, and they go south on you, right? The customer calls you, you get that text on your phone in the morning, it's like, and they want to talk to you. Hey, I got a couple questions for you. Can you call me? It's like, oh boy, you know, here we go again. And you get that no. So that fragile sale that goes south on you now turns us into fragile salespeople, right? Because we're crushed, we're devastated. So let's go to that next.
By the way,
Let's go to that.
especially when you're starting out. So I like that.
Oh, yeah. Particularly when you're starting out.
Next.
Particularly when you're starting out. So remember, they're very fragile till they're completed. And the first thing we got to be awful cognizant of in most of our markets today, we have what I would consider backlog challenges. And it happens every year. And it happened even in the 80s when I was selling termite, to where, you know, we get our schedule book pushed out a little bit too far, where, you know, the customer calls us, there's an immediate need, they're freaked out, they don't know what's going on underneath their house, there's termites swarming in their granddaughter's bedroom, they're completely flipped out, they're calling, you come, you answer the bell, you run in like the fireman, you're gonna save the day, and then you gotta tell them, hey, Bubba, we can't get there for like 3-4 days. Or in some markets, we're very challenged, where it's gonna be a couple of weeks, right? Kind of the nuances and the good and the bad of selling a lot of business,
Right.
is as hard as we're trying to keep up with the more techs we've already got on board, we still have these issues. So how do we deal with these challenges that we've got? You've got to hit them head on. You've got to understand that that's making that sale fragile. The other thing I think you need to be very mindful of is what your competitors can do. Think about you selling that deal now. And that customer, you know, you were the first guy that showed up, you were the first gal that showed up, they signed up with you, they said, yes, we want to go with you. And they're trying to cancel their other 2 appointments, so they call the Terminix folks up and they say, hey, I already signed up with Orkin, I want to cancel our appointment. Flip that scenario, they signed up with Terminix, they're calling you. What are you telling that customer to get in front of them, right? So all those things can come into play. The other thing, and you talked a little bit about this in the first one, like the sticker shock that hits them, right? You know, kind of like they got a problem, it's bad, things are going on. You've served up a solution that makes sense to them. They say yes, but then a couple hours later, they're like, what did we just do? So talk a little bit about that.
the thing is, when you sell to somebody for the first time, for example, and by the way, I'm telling you something you already know, and I'm reminding you if you forgot about the buyer mindset, is that when we sell somebody something, they're in an emotional high state, and we call that the hot state. The best way to look at this is think about when you've ever gone to like a mall, because this happened to me. Go to the mall, you see something in the window, whatever it may be, you're walking through the store, and you're like, gotta have that. Boom, you buy. Then you get home and you realize, why did I buy that? If you've been on a vacation, you know what I'm talking about. That shirt or that funky hat looked good in Mexico, but then you come home and you're like, what the heck was I thinking when I bought that? The same thing can happen, Ed, once they sign the deal, once you leave, then they move into that cold state, and that's where their anxiety starts kicking in.
Yeah, they start thinking, would I make the right decision?
Maybe I want to change. Maybe I want to
do something different. Yeah. And I think the next one I want to serve up is the one that becomes most prevalent this time of year, and that's that buyer remorse, but not so much buyer's remorse as buyer regret. So let's talk about that. I think sometimes our salespeople punish themselves when they get that cancel call on that customer in the morning, right? You know, they sell the deal. They did everything perfect. They didn't push them. It's not that. Talk about the difference between remorse and regret. I thought
it's
you
good to
wrapped
understand
that up
the
really
difference,
well.
right?
Yeah.
So when we talk about, for example, buyer's remorse versus buyer regret, too often we just conflate the two. Big difference here. When you talk about buyer's remorse, think about, for example, Hassan came over to see me, right? And he was really high pressure, got to sign it now, gave me everything from a scarcity, pressure, discount, you need to buy. And then I go ahead and buy. And then when he leaves, I go into that cool state and I go, I really didn't want to buy this right now. I didn't want to do this right now. Ooh, I hate that Hassan guy, right? That's buyer's remorse, when you just didn't like decision you make because you were under pressure. Buyer's regret is a little different. It's when you make the buying decision. Again, Hassan's over, great presentation, well presented. I make the buying decision, but then I start having regrets that maybe I should have gotten another bid. Maybe I should have gone to one of the other competitors and got one of them to come in and maybe gotten a second opinion. That's buyer's regret. And the best way to kind of pin down buyer's regret, you're going to talk about this, Ed, is to really try to reduce their anxiety.
Yeah, and I think I want to stop there because I think that's really important. I think too oftentimes when we get what we call backlog cancels, when you get a job that backs out on you, right? And if you get a couple of them in a row, you get into that mindset like you're going crazy, right? The highs and the lows, as one of the other slides says there, the highs and the lows are so extreme. You sell a $20,000 bundle, you're sky high. You're home. Heck, you already got the commission spent in your mind.
Yep.
You tell your wife or you tell your husband, hey, I just sold this deal. We can go buy that couch, or we can buy that bed, or we can buy whatever because I just sold a $20,000 deal. And then the next morning, the lowest of the lows comes in when the customer says, I don't want it. I think too oftentimes we as salespeople punish ourselves thinking it's buyer's remorse.
Right.
That maybe I did something wrong.
Correct.
Maybe I pushed him too hard or nudged him too hard. Now we got to nudge him. We got to push him to a decision, or oftentimes some folks won't make decisions.
Correct.
But I don't think that what happens to most of our salespeople, at least the ones I've ridden with for the most part,
I agree,
is buyer's remorse. It's not that you all did something wrong. It's just that they've got that regret, right?
Too much time to think about it. Too much time to reconsider. And so we got to figure out how to kind of minimize that anxiety.
Yeah, go back to that last slide there. Yeah, so and then on top of the buyer's remorse, or better said, buyer's regret, you got the neighbors and the family, right? So you sell this deal, you walk out of the house, the neighbor walks out the next morning and he's talking to his neighbor, and the neighbor says, I saw the Orkin truck over there. What was that gal doing over there? Well, I had termites. And oh, you went with Orkin? I went with ABC Company.
Right.
You got to go with them. They gave a great deal. So you get these neighbors, and you get probably more damaging are the family members when you're talking to your mom or your dad or your brother, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, and they say, oh, I had termites. I had the Orkin folks come out, and they're going to take care of it. Oh, no, you don't want to do that.
Right. So
you got all these things going on in this sale process that then creates those extreme highs and lows, right? And I think that we want to share a couple of ideas on how you can kind of make the sales a little stickier with just understanding it. So again, the biggest takeaway from that first little section is these sales are fragile.
Yeah.
You might have killed them. They might be like your best friend. They might give you a hug at the door, right?
Right.
Thank you, Victor, for everything you did. You've saved us, you know? All that may be happening, but at the end of the day, these things can still go south. So let's go to that next slide. I think that I think sometimes we make that sale, they say yes, and we forget to do one of the most important things. And Jeff Steele's on the call, and he put a process in place with our call center agents to kind of recap or summarize what the customer bought.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is, you've been there for probably a couple hours. I'm saying to try to find a couple minutes at the end of your deal before you walk out that door to kind of summarize 2 or 3 points of importance that maybe they got excited about, that what you're going to do. I think kind of painting that picture to kind of recap is the word I always used to use.
It's a good word. What do you do, Ed? Take yourself back there, and then we're done. Let's go ahead and do this, and now reassure me at the end.
And it might be just saying those exact words, just to kind of summarize what we talked about and what's going to happen next, right? And then just working your way through the process. Again, trying to find the ones that they got excited about.
Yeah.
That they kind of moved up in their chair.
They leaned in.
They love the foam, right? They love the foam. They love the bait stations around the outside. They love the DLMB, whatever it was, to kind of recap that and make sure that they understand what it's going to look like afterwards.
Give me your wording, though, because I like the wording you use sometimes when you're summarizing.
I think it's, Victor, just to kind of summarize what we went over and what's going to happen for you. What's going to happen for you, what we're going to do for you, how we're going to help you is this. Again, remind you, we're going to follow all the specifications on the graph. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I don't think you go through the whole presentation again.
Yep.
Keep it short. Again, keep them focused on what interests them.
Right.
And then pin that down and tell them you got it from there, right?
Right.
And I think the other thing that we talked about in the first broadcast is I always wrapped up every sale by giving the customer my personal cell phone number.
Right.
My business card in the 37 years I've been here has never, ever, ever, ever had my cell phone number on it. Ever. For this simple fact, you know what I want to do with it.
You make it personal.
You summarize it, you give them a card, hey, before I get out of here, I want to give you my personal cell phone number. You take it off, you write it on the back, you put it on the front. So if you have your cell phone number on your business card, don't tell your boss you want to reorder all of them, but I would reorder all of them, just saying, and have them with that so you can have that kind of that personal touch to where they know it's you and them then, right? So you summarize everything that's going to happen, and then you go there. So,
I just thought another way of doing it might be if you don't want to reprint your cards, is that you can literally just sit there, hand them the card, and just take the card back,
circle it.
Says, now that is my mobile number. You call me, whatever.
24/7, whatever it takes, right? Because I think what you want to try to avoid is them feeling disconnected that they just bought from the Orkin guy, right, or the Orkin gal.
Yep.
I think so. You've got to figure out some way to summarize your conversation. It's got to be practiced. Maybe we didn't do it the justice we wanted to, but think it through in your head. And I think it's really job and customer specific.
Right.
What you summarize, you just want to kind of anchor that thing in a little tighter.
We just want to reduce that anxiety, but let's kind of set this up in the framework again. We closed the deal, it's still fragile. That's the mindset.
Amen.
Step number 1, do a good summary. And again, if you can summarize with 2 or 3 key points, that's all you really need.
Amen.
Beyond 3, it gets a little cluttered in the head.
Yep.
And then you say, but here's my number. If any questions come up, So we'll call that step 2 in the process. Summarize step 1, give them the phone number, remind them, I'm your guy, gal. You call me if you need anything.
You'll be surprised if you do that, how many calls you get as you're leaving.
Yeah.
Or when you get home that night.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary, it's Ed. It's Ed. You were out. You just left my house a little bit ago. I had a couple of questions.
Yeah.
And you picked up the phone and you answered. Forget about it.
That's it. It's yours.
Forget about it.
They're in there. They're
Let's
yours.
Let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
So this one is very political in our Orkin world. This is own the scheduling. So we got pretty close to 400 branches out there, and there are probably 300 different ways to schedule termite work.
Right.
Here's how I would do it if it was my branch and it was my business, and this is the way we scheduled my business when I was a salesman. I own the scheduling. No matter what the process is, ideal, nirvana, perfection is when you're at that customer's house, you can pick up the phone, call the branch, call somebody, and schedule it on the spot.
Right.
Second option is you have an app that you use in your branch that schedules termite work. So you can sit across, Mr. Antonio, let me see what we got here. Here's what's available. We can do this job Tuesday or Wednesday, or be able to address, we got to be a couple of weeks out right now, right? The cool thing about, we can put it out a couple of weeks. We're pretty busy. It's a good thing.
Right.
Good news is the termites aren't going to eat your house up. We already talked about they just do a little bit of damage. So you can afford to hang in there with us. But I think you got to own the scheduling. But oftentimes the scheduling in a lot of our branches isn't perfect. What I mean by perfect in the sales mind is somebody else calls the customer. Like, okay, you're supposed to turn the paperwork in, give it to the folks up in the front office, and then they'll give it to the service manager, or they'll schedule it, they'll make the call, or the branch manager schedules all the termite work. I would say that's where you have to force yourself in to say, look, I need to be the one calling that customer to tell them when we're coming. I'll be willing to take that job off your hands. You just give me a couple days when we can do this job. So that you're the first person that calls that customer and says, Mr. Hubbard, it's Ed over at Orkin. I've got this job. I've got a couple options for you. We can do it Wednesday or we can do it Friday. Which one of those works best for you? Working with your service team, your branch team. The last thing you want to do is have the CSS or a service manager or even a very qualified branch manager pick the phone up to call that customer to try to schedule that job, and they weren't there. They didn't make the deal with them, Victor. They weren't the ones that were there.
Yep.
They don't know what questions they're going to get. What if the question comes up after you've left there when you're calling to schedule it that the CSS can't answer, the service manager can't answer, the branch manager can't answer? Then they have to do what? They have to either take a stab at it, guess,
Right.
or then they got to track you down to call that, hey, Mrs. Jones called, she had a couple of questions.
Call back.
What a wasted time, what a wasted
Yep.
effort. You're the one that was there, you promised it, own it.
Yep.
Own it. I see a bunch of the folks are sitting in their branches right now, doing this meeting together. Right now, when we're done, sit down and talk about how you're going to own the scheduling.
Yep.
I think that may be one of the most vital pieces of this. You made the promise to them. They made the promise to you. You owe it to them to control that schedule. Hey, here's what we got, Wednesday or Thursday. Which one works better? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you can't schedule it right away, at least get back to it by the end of the day or first thing tomorrow morning. Let's keep in mind that some millennials actually don't want to be called, right? Sometimes they want to text. And the thing is, we just want to know from a consumer standpoint that you haven't forgotten about me. So that's a great reminder.
Let's say you're out on a sit tonight, right? You're out and it's 7 o'clock and you just knocked down a sale. You're not going to be able to schedule that unless you got one of the apps. You can't even call the branch to do that. You might when you leave the house, when you leave the office that day, you might want to have a pretty good idea what's available and see if you can beat all the other salesmen to the book. But at the end of the day, you may be in a situation where you can't tell them right then. Ideally, you tell them right there when you're in front of them.
Right.
Here's when the guys are coming. If you can't, you tell them, look, hey, Victor, nobody's in the office right now. I'm the only guy out here working. I used to tell them that. I'm the only guy out here working right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call you first thing in the morning. What's a good time to tell you? And I'll work it out. I'll get the scheduled job for you. I think that will help you avoid some stalls or some backouts.
I agree.
I had a conversation with one of the salespeople up in South Bend. He called me. He said, hey, man, this job went south. He said, coach me through this. And the service manager, the job got canceled with the service manager. Something got lost in the communication. He thought it was a buyer's remorse. All it was they needed a little more clarification. So it took the phone call back from the service manager to the salesperson and then finally back to the customer. It was like a day before it got fixed.
Wow.
And the salesman's a star, right?
Yeah.
He's going crazy for 24 hours thinking one of these is going south. And it didn't go south. They just weren't ready to do all of it right away.
Gotcha.
So think about that. On top of owning the scheduling, let's go to the next slide.
I think this is the killer app. This is the killer app right here. Spike the Job is the killer app to me.
So they say yes. It's a termite sale. They say yes. They got live termites. They got termites somewhere in that house. This is the closer. For those of you that don't know what this is a Corteva above ground station. Guaranteed to pin the jobs down and get them closed. They got termites. When you're there, you see them, you pop it open, you show them the little termites working out, you continue your inspection. I'll take care of that when we wrap up. I'll share some solutions with you, and I'll take care of that. I'll get on that right away as soon as we wrap up the rest of my inspection and share some numbers with you. I'll get on that right away. You tell them that right away. So they know right away they're going to get something done. They just saw these creepy termites or these termites are swarming out. So what you do after they say yes, I call it spiking the job, staking the job, whatever you want to call it. Put this thing in place. Now, there are different rules in different states of what you can do and what you can't do. You have to have a service ticket to be able to do this, to write the service up because there's a chemical in here. But think about spiking that job. So in that customer's mind, what are they thinking if they sign the contract, they sign the rack paperwork, and you put one of these bad boys in place to jumpstart that? Hey, I know we can't get here for a couple of weeks, but let me do this.
Yeah.
Let me seed the deck. Let me get started killing those termites right here tonight while I'm here.
Or even a simple phrase. We don't have a date scheduled yet, but I can start doing the job. So you say spiking the job. I say it's almost like starting the job as well.
Yep, we're going to get this job started. So if you get that competitor that calls back and says, hey, I see you canceled our appointment, well, we already bought from Orkin, and they say, well, let me come out. They do all their song and dance to get in there. Yeah. They'll say, well, they already started.
They already started. I think
that's started the job.
To me, that's the killer app.
They're committed.
They're in.
If you can't do this, maybe you use some of this premise foam. You take that screwdriver where those termites are coming out, you poke a little hole in there, you shoot some foam in there.
This will hold you over.
Let me start killing these termites until the fellas can get here to do the work.
There you go.
fix it that way.
Love it.
You find termites out in the mulch. That happens once in a while. What if you had a hand auger in your trunk?
Yeah.
That you said, you know where we found those termites out there on our inspection? I'm going to jumpstart your job by dropping this in for you.
Yep.
We're going to get killing those termites right away. And you remember what we talked about. This cool thing about this is it's always active.
Yeah.
So we're going to start right here tonight, today, right now. We're going to pop these in the ground.
Yep.
Again, you'll work with your branch. You got to have a service ticket. You got to get that done. They're done. You sold an attic remediation job? What if you put a whole bunch of these bad boys up there? You know, good rat catchers, you know what they do with their bait stations if they got a real heavy-duty rat situation? I've spent a lot of time in commercial. The first day, they'll come out and they'll set these traps out. They'll put some bait on them. They won't set them. Why? Because rats are inherently wary of something new introduced to their environment. So you explain this to the customer. You know, Mr. Victor, you got some rats up in that attic. You got them roof rats up there. Here's what I want to do tonight before I leave. I want to kind of set the stage to get these rats introduced to these traps. Now, I'm not going to set these up here.
I got to be honest. I never thought about that, Ed. That's freaking brilliant. I never thought about that.
Talk to a good rat catcher. They won't put bait on those traps right away.
Yeah.
Because they'll stay away from it. It's new.
Right.
But if you put it up there, you put some bait on there, you let them go get that bait.
But you don't set it.
You don't set it. Come back and set them. Bang, 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 bang. Steve Olds taught me that trick up in Boston, chasing rats around Fenwell Hall.
Okay.
You know, I mean, just years and years ago.
I never thought about that.
So you got that. You got these. You got these. You got some aerosols. You can knock down some swarmers. This, I think, has always been my go-to on every sale. Anytime you make a sale, I know it takes a little bit of time, but if you can eliminate or reduce just one backlog cancel or job backing out on you, you know, our average termite sales across the country are $3,500 times 14%. We're talking some big money. If you can save one deal by taking a little bit of extra time and doing this.
If you were to guesstimate, if you were to estimate, and I didn't ask you this question before, but I think it's an interesting question. If you were to estimate how many times you started the job and they canceled on you, in other words, you spiked the job.
That's not true. Couple times. But that's a whole lot of jobs over 20 years.
Out of 10.
Oh.
Out of 20.
Way below 1%.
Way below 1%.
Way below 1%.
Yeah.
Because in their mind,
you started the job.
They've signed, they've worked out the RAC paperwork, you've started the job, you did everything perfect. And again, I think sometimes we fall into that trap where we get a couple of these backlog cancels. And you know, I got a son-in-law that does this for a living. You know, he was wrapped around the axle on a couple of these. You know, he had 2 in a row. He thought, what am I doing wrong? And you're not doing anything wrong. It's kind of the nature of the business. But I asked him, did you spike the job? You know what he told me? Nope. Nope. I said, what have I been teaching you for 7, 8 years? Nope. He said, nope. I said, shame on you then. That's your fault. So think about it. These are all free. If you're selling Centricom bait stations, these come for free. There's no charge. They don't charge the branches for them. Your branch manager's on the call.
I still think it should have the Orkin logo on it.
Yeah, so Victor and I talked about that. You can find one of them Orkin stickers to put on this. Put an Orkin sticker on it.
Yeah.
The Dalfa or the Corteva folks might blow a gasket. But how are they going to find out? This is your customer in our house.
Yeah.
Right?
I put a logo on it.
So think about that.
I love that. That's a great
idea.
idea.
Think about that. So again, takeaways, keeping it to 3.
Yep.
Sales really fragile.
Right.
Really fragile. The emotions are everywhere. They're all over the board. Can you control the scheduling? The takeaways that came off when I asked for the takeaways at the end, we're controlling the scheduling and spiking the jobs. Those are the 2 big ones coming out of it.
Yeah.
You know, certainly
I also like the summarizing at the end to kind of really tie it down.
Amen. So I think we're pushing time, but go ahead. Anything in the chat while I catch up on the housekeeping?
Adam Humphrey says, I only have my personal cell on my card. Well, there you go.
No, again, you don't want that on there. But if you have it on there and that's all you have, highlight it. But I love the fact of being able to write it on there. So what?
There's something more.
They think they're special.
There's something organic about writing the name because, again, it's, as we talked about, it's unexpected when you do that. You make the person feel special, and it's very personal. And again, that's why that's more powerful.
And if your boss won't let you order new cards right away, do the Adam thing. Just highlight it and make note that it's your personal cell.
Yeah.
Call me 24/7.
Yep.
What else we got?
That's it.
Anything? Nothing else?
We're wrapping up. Nope.
Cool. Couple housekeeping things, and we'll get out of here. You got about 10 weeks left to kind of button up your trip for the rack trip. So, push through that. That ends December 31st. Will you please? It's starting to get weather everywhere in the country. Will you please add a mosquito pitch to every one of your bundles? Depending on the market you're in, it's 50, 60, 70 bucks a month for 6 or 7 or 12 months, wherever you're at.
Yep.
Put it in there. It's free. It's like free money. It's the best service we sell. Remember, sales are fragile. We got 5 days left to close this month out. We need a little nudge to get that done. post a takeaway in whatever chat vehicle you're using to communicate amongst your team. Not for us, for your teammates. If you post your chat in there, one of your teammates that didn't take the takeaway from this broadcast might see it, and it might.
By the way, can I
trigger
ask?
something.
By the way, if you can't post a takeaway, because maybe you knew all this stuff already, highlight the one that you think is more effective when you use it.
Perfect.
That's always, again, what we do is we take the information from the chat and we share it, and I think that's powerful when you can just share your knowledge. Why don't you do that right now while we're closing out, because you'll forget to do it. Put in right now, just do that. Put in one thing that we highlighted that makes sense for you, works for you. Do that right now.
That's awesome.
That's
awesome.
Anything else on the numbers, everything else?
No, I think the last thing, we just worked out the date between broadcasts. So mark your calendars. May 24th is when we're going to come back live. Again, the same concept, 8:30 Eastern and 11 o'clock Eastern. So you can mark your calendars right now. We'll get the invites after Stormy works through it, but put that on your calendar right now and you'll have it. Traps in the Attic, very good.
Yep, Spike the Sales. By the way, the summary thing, Jesse commented, the Beard himself commented on that. Can we call him the Beard of Wisdom?
We can.
Okay, we'll call him that. Spike the Sales, Spike the Deal. I love that. And, Gordon's been very quiet.
He has.
Have we put him in the corner for some reason?
I don't know.
Has he done something wrong?
I don't know.
He's been quiet. Maybe
He was hanging around
maybe
with
he just
Pat.
likes what we're doing.
He was hanging around with Pat and Leo last week. He might have gotten in trouble. He just don't tell anybody. That's all. You got anything else?
That's it.
We have to
Let's
wrap this up a little stronger than we did the last time. So I just said goodbye, go sell something on the last broadcast. Stormy hollered at me. So we want you all to have a wonderful day out there today. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe.
Yeah.
And sell something.
Yeah. Take care, guys.